Well, welcome. Thank you guys for being here. The first Tuesday of the month, we're always going to make sure that we start off by giving you the foundation of understanding that our bodies were built to heal. You know that stem cells, ever heard of stem cell research, stem cell injections? People get them. Stem cells, your body holds in the bone marrow. So deep in your bones, you hold these stem cells. Stem cells can become anything. As long as they're directed properly to the right place, they will become where it goes. So stem cells are those kind of natural healing cells. If you injure yourself, those stem cells are going to flood that area and become that tissue. Your body was built to be intelligent, to send the signals from your brain to all parts of your body, and your body to receive those signals and send it back to your brain. If those signals are interrupted in any way, there's some dysfunction, okay? The point being is this: your bodies are, let's say, they're performing so many different processes and activities that just your liver is doing 300 and some different processes. That's just your liver. If we were aware of all the things that are going on in our bodies, then we would just go crazy. We'd be going crazy. We really would. So our bodies are going to run subconsciously and under the surface without us consciously knowing about it for the majority of our activity. So when we talk about why is it so important to have good posture, to have good motion to our spine, it's because your spinal alignment and movement is vital in allowing proper communication between your brain and your body. And if your body was built to do the tasks and function at a high level, then we need to make sure that communication is open as possible. Does that make sense? First, put it this way: if you're an Olympic athlete, how many seconds sometimes could it be the difference between winning the gold medal and not placing? How many seconds would you say?
A couple seconds.
Could be, not even. Could be tenths of a second, right?
Yeah.
I think in a sprint, you get the difference between, a couple seconds or even tenths of a second could make someone medal or not even place. That means that as an athlete, to have the best function of your body at the highest level is at the utmost importance. But that also means that if you're challenging your body at a high level, it could get injured very easily too. So I want to go through a little process to just understand, not just as being an athlete or how important it is for athletes to stay on the top of their game. I want to talk a little bit about just basic health in general. If your body becomes misaligned in some way or another, and these nerves are irritated in a small way, those nerves are first going to dysfunction. That doesn't mean there's pain. So know this, that most people, when you first had a subluxation, you're probably under 10 years old. Likely you're under 10 years old. And your body misaligned, but you didn't probably feel pain even. You might have. Maybe you fell off your bike, fell out of the tree. Even birth itself can be traumatic to us, but those first subluxations usually don't hurt, okay? But they start to cause some dysfunction. Again, that communication between the brain and the body is somewhat tuned down. That is, at the level that the communication is affected will be the level to which problems arise later on. But initially you have some dysfunction, not disease, but dysfunction. Symptoms are kind of the last thing to show up. If I had a continuum, I'd say there's some dysfunction when we're out of alignment or our nerves are affected. And then we have some dis-ease. We have a lack of ease or function in our body. And then ultimately we have symptoms. Those symptoms are a lot of times what drive people to do things, right? But most athletes, if they're working with a chiropractor, they're not necessarily working with the chiropractor just because they hurt. They're working to improve their performance. Now, of course, if you imagine football players, they probably all do get kind of beat up. So they probably all do need pain. But every single NFL team has a chiropractor. Imagine at a high level, bigger bodies, faster, stronger bodies are going to put our body, people out of alignment a lot easier. So everyone's getting adjusted. Golfers, they've had chiropractors on their tour wherever they stop, there's always chiropractors there. Because it could be the difference between making the tackle, between making the putt, keeping your drive straight, and so many things when your body is in tune, right? In tune. Because if your body, let's say first is dysfunctioning, which would mean this, very simply, if you need to know exactly where every single toe is hitting the ground and exactly where it is in order to make the next move, but some of that information is slowed down or not getting to your brain fast enough, that could be you twisting an ankle. That could be you missing a cut, missing a tackle. So dysfunction will happen much more before you have knee pain or hip pain and the body not working right. You see, when you have symptoms, that means there's been dysfunction or compensation for a long time. And this is where sport injuries and really sports come together here. A lot of patients who come to my office are not elite athletes. Most of them are weekend warriors or just trying to stay active. But if our body isn't signaling properly we could be doing things at the gym that are beneficial to us, we believe, but could be harming us on the other end. And if our bodies are not communicating properly, that's where this disease becomes dysfunction, which becomes symptoms and pain. So when we have young athletes, they seem to have the best success. I had a story. I had a young soccer player, and I believe he was a pretty active soccer player. Like he did a lot of soccer. He was on a good team. I adjusted him one time. He went to practice, and his coach was watching him run after I adjusted him and asked, "What the heck did you just do? You're actually running for the first time ever." What he thought was running was a discoordinated mess of trying to move his legs, but it wasn't coordinated. As soon as we opened up the channels with just one adjustment for a kid, his body started to move properly. So if you look at a young athlete and the things challenged to them, we're no different every day. We do things that can challenge our bodies. And so our bodies need to be in connection between our brain and our body. Not only do, football players, of course, you could imagine would probably need checked, but so do all athletes, runners. It's such a repetitive process that even 5 millimeters of difference in their leg length, even 5 millimeters, even 3 millimeters, could start to cause chronic hip pain. Most sports, even trainers today, they still aren't at the level of understanding the function of the body and how the improved function can reduce of risk and injury. So prevention is still key. And this is my ploy is if you know young athletes, if you know people who have young kids that are in sports, the best thing to do is get them checked now. Because it takes very little work for me to help a young athlete get back into the game or stay functioning. It would take so much more if that young athlete he played baseball and football and basketball, and he did that all the way through high school, and he kept just sucking it up. And he just kept, coach would say, "You all right? Yeah, you hurt or you injured? Just hurt, get in there." And he kept pushing through. And he never really got checked after a big game or a big event. And year after year after year, he finally gets to his 20s, he's probably starting to feel some things that are a little more chronic. And at that point, he might be seeing the specialist, and they're probably just giving him some pain medications or some simple stretches and things, but they're not really getting to the root of the alignment that happened when he was 8 or 9 or 10. And then they get into the 30s and they're starting to have breakdown. When you're a football player in the NFL, every single Sunday is like getting in a severe car accident every single Sunday. The biggest thing that I want people to employ, number one, is prevention is always better than a cure. Number one. Number two is that bodies start to dysfunction and we don't even know it. Most young athletes that I see come in here, they might have what they call that Osgood-Schlatter's disease where the knees kind of get worked on. But a lot of the kids have it only on one side, which means that their feet usually are rolling in. It also means that their hips can be out. I have so many young athletes that have just little nagging knee or hip things or shoulder things that could simply be corrected if we correct their alignment. But the problem is we haven't been able to do that, and it'd take too long. So prevention's better than the cure. Number two would be that we make sure that we get kids checked often and early for their alignment and not waiting till they get beat up. But if you are an adult, understand that you probably had decades of doing things in somewhat of the wrong pattern, that it's going to take time to heal. I can't correct the way that you were running since you've been 10. Do you know it takes, you actually don't develop a proper gait until you're like 7. Really? So you're developing, the way you walk really develops over time. But if it's been dysfunctional since you've been young, there's a problem. And it's hard to undo. So that would be the second thing. The third thing would be is as an adult that you're taking care of your body's alignment and posture. Use things to kind of help you check yourself. Check yourself. Self-checks are amazing. Like some simple things to just say, am I not moving properly? Some of the simplest things you could probably even do with your shoulders. You can say, hey, could I touch my fingers together? Oh, good, I can do that. How about this way? Oh, geez. Right? Big difference.
Do it either way.
Big difference. If you're equal, it's better than being unequal. I'll tell you that right now.
I couldn't do either one.
Well, there you go. So you lift your legs. Do a hamstring stretch. If you can put your leg up on the wall, straight up on the wall, on one side, but the other side is really tight, that's a problem. You want to look for asymmetry in a lot of things. You could take your shoes. Or if you have young kids, take their shoes and look at the back of their shoe and the bottoms of their shoe. Should be wearing pretty evenly. Most people, when they look at their shoes, they're going to wear on this outside part. But I see most people have one side that's a lot more worn down than the other side. So those are keys to tell you, hey, do I need adjusted? Do my kids need checked? Right? So all these things are important in the realm of things. But most injuries are repetitive in nature. If you have a freak accident and someone hits you from the side or you twist an ankle in a hole, that is something that you can't probably avoid. Chiropractic may help to heal that up or regenerate it back once you've injured it. But the biggest thing is to try to prevent chronic injuries from happening by keeping the body in good alignment and good function. And that's why we check those chiropractically all the time. So injuries for most people will happen because the brain and the body are not coordinated in their connection, in their communication. The more abnormal the communication or the more that's cut off, the more likely you are to have injuries chronically. And the sooner that we can change those patterns, the better. Those are kind of the big points that we want to get across when it comes to sports and injuries. If you have had the unfortunate place where you get stuck in a boot, or you have surgery even, where you're laid out for a while, your body kind of, if you don't use it, you lose it. So your body starts to forget some of the good patterns. If you're getting back to the rehab, that's very important to see your rehabilitation. A lot of surgeons don't even have people go to rehab. They just start walking, that's rehab. You need proper movement, but the chiropractor will make sure that the alignment is proper when you're getting back to those things. I mean, most people get in boots, especially people have replacements of their hips and their knees, they're imbalanced. My call to you guys is if you know people who are trying to be active, but they get hurt every so often, or they're trying to be active and they want to stay that way, and they've never been checked, tell them to get checked. If you know young athletes or know people who have kids and they have never been checked by a chiropractor, even though it's like, well, they don't hurt, why would they go? Just say, hey, you should just go. Because they just don't know what they don't know. And I can't tell you how many athletes are so much better off since they've been getting adjusted and know what they know. Because when they miss out, I had a young kid, he had a little curve in his spine and it's just hard for him to get here. Well, years later, his mom brought him in, he had a lot more than a little curve. And if he had probably stuck with us, it probably wouldn't have been, we'd at least been more aware. Does that make sense? So our bodies, they dysfunction quickly, but make sure you tell people, get checked. It doesn't have to be here. If they live wherever they live or get around, just get them checked. All right. So our bodies were built to move. Keep moving them. That's my thing. Just let me help you make sure it's moving the right way, right? Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.